This is Mike and Eric Drink a Beer. It was a really simple idea, which is that Mike and I were each going to enjoy a pint and talk about tech things. And when the beer is gone, it's over. So I'm sitting outside under a heater, which is why you see the redness off of me. And Mike has a beautiful camera and a microphone, which is why he looks so gorgeous. What are you drinking?
I came out further your way, and I'm going out of Chicago from Pipeworks, Ninja versus Unicorn.
Ninja versus Unicorn.
Yeah, which is with a very awesome can.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah.
I've got Castle Danger.
Ooh, nice.
Castle Danger is just north of Duluth, Minnesota. You can sit on the North Shore and drink cream ale out on their back patio.
Oh, that's good. We did
in better days, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think you can still do it out of the patio as long as nobody else is there. Your own patio.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers.
End of a work day. All right. So I don't even know what we were going to talk about other than the fact that Microsoft just told everybody this week that they can work from home forever.
And Dropbox did something similar, and yep. Google has done stuff, and Facebook, and it seems to be the tech companies leading the way right now. So it'll be interesting to see who else follows suit. I know there's a lot of fun debate about about how long it lasts and how many people return back to the office. In my view, it's forever changed. And I've been doing the work from home thing for probably the past decade, and it's different. This is different, right? This is not work from home yet because there aren't any other outlets like we've normally had. So this one is people that have been doing this for a while are still adapting.
Yeah. So before we kind of dig in and debate the whole will it ever change or not, hold on. I'm going to turn my email off so we don't ding incessantly.
People send you email?
I know, right? It's weird. That actually brings me to my point, oddly enough. So I've been working from home since 2005 in one capacity or another. So the whole work from home thing was just like, yeah, whatever. We're working from home. Nothing changed, really. I mean, calls pacing in bedrooms or kitchens and computers wherever you happen to be. I don't have an office set up anywhere. You look like you've got an office set up. I certainly don't have this giant Zoom rig like we see some of these freaks on Twitter.
Oh, they've got some good ones.
How do you I want a budget for that. How do you have a budget for this? I don't even know about this stuff.
I'm using my, I'm a still photographer, right? So I found a way to rig up my Canon. I've had a microphone because I was doing some voiceover stuff. I actually have another series coming on out called Craft of Code that I've been doing voiceover stuff with. And I've got you can't see it over here, but the warm light coming from there is my Christmas Story leg lamp. It's Italian. It's quite beautiful.
It's European. No, it's important. It's European.
And I because I work from home, we had the privilege of dedicating what used to be the kids' playroom into my office, and it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I kind of like being out on the patio here, right? Kind of got the wood, and you can see the blankets because it's cold, so we're trying to keep heat trapped. So I mentioned freaks before. I guess I should say who I'm talking about. I was actually talking about Kodrowski because I told him I was going to start doing Zoom calls. And he's like, oh, you need a good microphone. So he sends me a list of good microphones. They're like $3,000. I'm not spending $3,000 on a microphone for a Zoom call.
Eric is seeing Norlin.
Well, Paul's up there like doing audio editing and things with stuff. So whatever, it's all good. This is my whole email thing. So I was thinking about kind of work from home hacks that you learn over a 10, 15 year period of doing something, right? And my absolute number one work from home hack is I wake up, I turn my email on, I answer my emails that I want to answer, I turn my email off. It is off until I turn it on midday, and then it's off till I check it at the end of the day, and then it goes off till the next morning. So I check email 3 times a day, do not have it open on my phone. And if you don't get answered in that period, one of those 3 periods that day, then you get pushed to the next day. So, I mean, is that something you're doing as well?
To a point, not necessarily with email, just because of the nature of what I do with press. I've got 30-minute turnaround, so I've got to constantly pay attention to it. But you bring up a good point, and it's something that I've been doing since this started. Right, it hasn't always been this way. Is you tend to compartmentalize different things that you do throughout the day. So for me, and you build habits, and you create new ones. For me, I started to go through, and I'll wake up in the morning, put the pot of coffee on, full pot, which I'm realizing that's probably where my cholesterol is coming in.
I'm trying to limit my intake on coffee as well, down from like 19 cups to 12.
Yeah, I mean, 2 pots, double fisted. And so, but while that's going, I just do a quick triage of email on the phone. So I don't even crack the laptop yet. But I'll do a quick triage, and then I got into the habit of, because it's so easy, it's so natural and easy to just fall into the trap of, I'm just going to go crack the laptop open and just start working. And it's 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And that's not a good habit to get into when you're constantly in front of a screen, when you don't have those normal happy hour outlets or social outlets that you would normally have when you work from home. So I started picking up a physical book, and I started reading books while I'm drinking the coffee. And it's been, and that's sort of been my way of easing into the day. And then I dive into email. Easing into the day it worked well until yesterday. We adopted these 2 rescue kittens that were on our doorstep, and one of them decided to just tear ass all the way through the house. Didn't pay any attention, has no like leg control as it's going through. It's like the anti-cat, and it comes flying across the couch as I'm holding this hot cup of coffee. Whoosh! Coffee all over the place. Hot coffee. I'm like, I'm burning.
I think I do the same thing when it comes. I ease the same way though. I mean, my schedule would be, I kind of open email, check out the sports slate for the day, do some reading, and then before I really started on calls, I always make sure to put like a 60-minute walk before a block of calls, and then a 30 to 45-minute walk after any significant block of calls. So at a bare minimum, my day's sliced by 2 hours outdoors walking, right?
So there's somebody that I work with, and he put in 7 miles yesterday, and we started talking about it. And for me, like, I'm productive in the morning, so my mornings are more productive. Mid-afternoon around lunchtime is sort of you'll understand, it's siesta time, and it's
and I get it.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, that's I'll go out on the bike. So rather than for a walk, I'll go out on my bike. There's less traffic.
Yep.
2, it's a little bit warmer. As I get older, I'm like, yeah, it'd be better to have better weather.
3, it's an excuse to wear ridiculous spandex.
Oh, I am. So when people look at my Twitter profile, right, they're always like, "You were a Calvin Klein underwear model?" I'm like, do you really believe that? I mean, and I get like 2 people a year that actually like fall for that and believe it. But the reality is, I am an official member of the spandex stress testing team.
Yes. And although you told me yesterday you're unable to touch your toes, which I find incredible.
No, but I have been working out, and I'm able to see them, which is
good. I can touch mine now, so
yeah.
Flexibility is important. Flexibility and balance, I hear, is a big deal. So, all right. So let's get down to brass tacks on this whole Microsoft Dropbox thing. And 2 things that came to my mind reading the news yesterday. One, and we make this the second topic, I want to talk about nonlinear days, because I thought that was brilliant part on Dropbox of doing that. But 2, I want to have our little mini fight here before we run out of beer time, because you say this is a permanent change and nothing's ever going back the way it was before. And I say, I can see your point on tech companies, but I think on the overall economy, that just simply doesn't hold true. And I actually went and looked up numbers today. And by looked up numbers, I mean, I asked Paul if he could tell me a good data source, at which point he then gave it to me.
That's fair.
And the number was that the total percentage of the U.S. workforce that is employed by an IT company, however the Bureau of Labor Statistics defines that, is 7.7%. So if every tech worker in the country worked from home forever, that's still less than 8% of the total economy of employed workers in the U.S.
So I challenge you to, and I challenge Paul to look at that, not at tech, but we've moved to an information economy, a service economy, right? And look at it from office. What percentage, and I don't know the answer to this, but I'm sure Paul has it, what percentage of the workforce, and I'm sure it's much larger than 7%, what percentage of the workforce, for them to get their jobs done, for them to be effective, need an internet connection, a computer, and a phone?
I don't debate that.
Right?
I don't debate that.
In which case that part of, you know, that work from home, that shift, will be almost a year in by the time, well, we'll be almost be a year in shortly.
Yeah, but here's my argument with that.
It's not working.
My argument with that is this. First of all, I think there's an emotional homeostasis, a pull of people that want to get back to normal, right? Whatever that means for them. And going to work is back to, you know, kids in school, teachers teaching physically, live classrooms, right? I'm not putting a timeline on this. I mean,
Right.
12 months, 18 months, 24 months, whatever that timeline is. But that's going to happen at some point because people are just clamoring for it, right? So we've already seen the JP Morgans and the Goldman Sachses of the world say they want their traders and financial folks back in the office to a large degree at some point. And we already know that every small, you know, eye surgery center, doctor's office, accounting firm is not going to work from home. So if you throw in the service industry, I don't see how that much changes over the long haul.
Okay, so I wasn't talking service as in-person service, right? That absolutely comes back in some shape or form, right? I'm talking more. Companies were okay outsourcing stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is this any different, right? If an IBM is good with outsourcing hundreds of thousands of jobs offshore to India, why can't their own people work from home?
Again, tech company.
Okay, that's fair. Pick an insurance company.
Home Depot.
Home Depot.
There's got to be guys and gals in orange vests, or you don't have Home Depot.
Have to have that. But you've got to have. But you know, but that's in person, right? That's a different kind. You know,
I'll stipulate that, right? Like you know, insurance salesman, anything like that involves largely phone computer.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I see where you're going with this. It's larger than 7.7%. We don't know how large a percentage that is. I guess that would be the thing to look at.
The people that work at Home Depot, at the Home Depots that we know, absolutely eventually go back, right? Maybe it's not the same, but they eventually go back. Home Depot corporate,
different matter.
Right.
Yeah. I'm with you. All right, before I run out of beer and before you run out of, how fast are we drinking? How fast are beer? I'm like, I got like this much. I'll slow down.
By the way,
No Name Pub in Big Pine Key, Florida.
Yeah.
Here's mine tonight. Thirsty Pagan.
Oh, nice.
Wisconsin.
Nice.
All right, let's talk about nonlinear workdays.
What's that?
The nonlinear workday, Dropbox. I thought this was a great thing. I don't know whose idea this was. I hope she gets all the credit in the world for it. Right. Mm-hmm. So they have offices in, I'm just trying to remember the top of my head, Dublin, Austin, Seattle, San Fran, Portland, something like that. Some mixture of that. So because of the Dublin, I would assume there ends up being a core 3 to 4 hours a day where all teams cross time zones are, you know, supposedly at work. So instead of having an 8-hour workday, you now have a workday that's 3 hours with kind of bursty project work around it, depending upon what team you're on.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't feel any different for me, because that's how my workday's been for a decade, right? Probably doesn't feel different for you.
It definitely doesn't feel different for me. Being East Coast, I'm already, your sleep zone, your sleep slot on the East Coast when you do what we do is smaller because you're up early, you're dealing with Europe, you're up late dealing with Asia. It was more of a flow. There was more of a calendar based workday there. What I think Dropbox is looking at is more, it goes, the word of the year is going to be asynchronous. We see it in education. We see it like you're talking about with Dropbox. And for me, working from home, that's one of the things that I try to tell people is it's your time now, right? So you need to be able to have that fluidity. It's not even about balance, right? I don't necessarily believe in work-life balance. I believe there's a new agey harmony to it. I know that just made you just regurgitate just a little bit.
No, I'm in my mouth. All right. Be okay.
But it is, right? It's recognizing that you have different cycles where you know that you are productive, where you know your colleagues are productive, or when they're online or offline, and you're able to prioritize what works and what's important and what doesn't and what's not, and you just sort of work around that, and all of a sudden it becomes a great blend of your day. But it's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do to get out of that 9 to 5 rigid mindset.
Yep, I agree. I think the key to it too is you have to start getting brutal with your calendar, right? So when someone says we need an hour meeting, my response is no. There's nothing that needs an hour. Nothing.
I default to 15 minutes because it's as small as I can do on my calendar.
Yeah, I mean, outside of absolute company blow up crisis, there's nothing that needs an hour. So I mean, I suppose you could argue board meetings, right? But I would then turn around and argue that you could break board meetings down into asynchronous parts, decks with email threads, and less than hour face-to-faces, right? So if you start trying to break everything down from very few things need a face-to-face meeting, right? You push those to email or phone calls, and then very few things or blended, right? Or whatever that platform is. And all of a sudden you end up saying like, I'm probably getting on the phone because I think that's what I'm supposed to default to when I don't need to, or I'm probably trying to meet in person when I feel like that's the default. And the response is emotional. It's either a satisfying an emotional need you have, or you trying to satisfy what you think the emotional need is of somebody else, not you actually accomplishing what you need to accomplish.
So it's really funny you say that, because I have been, and I know a lot of other people that have done this for a while, have been defaulting back to phone versus video.
Yep.
Right. Because there's no need, right? Exactly. I can go out and like the guy that I was talking about earlier, who put about 7 miles of walking on during calls. He's like, why would I not go out use this time while the weather's decent to go out for a walk? I don't need to have it in front of me. And if I really need something in front of me, I've got it on my phone while I'm walking. The other part of that, and I just blew my train of thought.
That's what the beer's for.
I know. That's where I was going. Was the you've got the moving from video to phone for a lot of people.
Yep.
And one of the things I've started to do is move away from Slack and from other instant messaging. And still a lot of reason for that. But I've been sort of taking this Jeff Bezos approach to write it down, long form, put it in an email, or put it in the wiki or someplace else that actually forces you to think a little bit deeper, so you're not just moving quickly and just dropping it in there. It's not ephemeral where it just disappears and people forget about it. Do the thinking behind it. Shut off and actually write.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. And I think I think the other good advice is asynchronous messaging,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like the ability to say, I'm posting this thought here because I want us to chew on it, but you don't need, there's no need, you don't feel a time like you need to get back to me. You get back to me whenever you get back to me.
My personal policy is anything that comes into me should be assumed to be asynchronous.
Yeah.
You don't get to come into my time, to my calendar.
That's right.
Yep.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So we don't know how often we're going to do this, right? I mean, you suggested every week. I think you're just incredibly ambitious with that kind of scheduling commit. I mean,
I really just wanted more beer.
You just want to drink beer. I understand. So, but we have to balance that we don't drink too much beer on live video or things just get out of hand quickly.
That is true. That is true.
That is
into
a
entirely different series.
All right. So we may do it once a week. We may do it once every other week. We may do it once every 3 weeks. But as we find interesting beers and the mood hits us, right?
Yes, there's actually one that I'm dying to try that just came out yesterday. Sam Calagione at Dogfish released one called Campfire Stories or something like that. That is this milk stout with s'mores and some other stuff. It sounds like the perfect cold fall evening campfire beer.
Yeah, there's a brewery up here called Ursa Minor that I've got a couple things I want to try. So I'll have to find a way to acquire those and we'll get to it. Yeah, all right, I'll check this recording and make sure, see if it's even usable. And if it is, we'll put it online and see what the hell happens.
Sounds good.
Cool. Cheers, Mike. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Talk to you later.
Later.